Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hanging Out for a Living, the show where we slow down long enough to hear the stories behind people, the passions, and the purpose that drive what they do. Today, I am so happy to be hanging out with Meg Tyo. She's a licensed clinical social worker, photographer, and founder of Sweet Home Photography. Meg's work is rooted in something far deeper than taking pictures, though. Through photography and human connection, she helps older adults honor their legacies, navigate seasons of transition and loss, and feel truly seen in a world that too often overlooks the aging. With a background in both photography and social work, Meg brings a rare perspective to her work, one that asks meaningful questions about memory, identity, family, and what we want to hold on to most. This conversation is about more than photography. It's about honoring stories while we're still here living them. Meg, welcome to Hanging Out for a Living.
What a fantastic introduction. Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. I was so looking forward to our conversation. Let's dive into our questions. So
Yeah.
your background combines photography and social work in
Yes.
such a really unique and meaningful way. At
Thanks.
what point did you realize those two worlds were meant to come together?
That's such a good question. And I don't know if there was one like aha kind of moment where I was like, this is it. But just over the years of being a clinician and also being a person,
Sure.
having experiences of my own
Right.
and working. So my undergrad degree is in photography. I switched over to social work when my grandfather got sick while I was in college.
Uh,
He faced some struggles, our family faced some struggles. And so realizing that, that was kind of a passion of mine to figure out how could I be somebody who could help families like mine and people like me and people like my grandpa. Um, and worked in medical social work for years and years until a friend kind of harassed me to pick up my camera again. And
ah,
she was a hobby photographer and every day would say, Meg, where's your camera? Did you get it out? Are we going to talk about pictures yet? And just hearing everyone's stories that I worked with as a clinician
mhm.
and then getting back into using the camera, it just kind of felt like a natural mix because in like a therapy session, right, which is part of my job now, you and I would sit down and we would talk about, okay, here's what I have going on. Here's what's been challenging. Here's what's good, right? My job is to listen, but also to like help people recognize resilience, recognize, okay, there's a lot going on, but what do I have to feel grateful for? What do I have to be proud of? What
Absolutely.
tools do I have to use? And when I walk into a room to shoot with my camera, right, I'm doing the same thing. I'm looking around, okay, here's this scene. What do we want to focus on? What's the good stuff? What is the thing that we want to bring attention to? What do we want to remember? What do we want to recognize? What's important to people? And so in either setting, those skills are kind of the same, just a
Yeah,
different avenue to get to the end
exactly.
result.
Different tool and different route to get down to get there. I love
Yeah,
your shirt, by the way. Licensed
thank you.
listener, yes.
Yeah.
So you talk about honoring stories and preserving memories. Have there been moments during photo sessions that deeply impacted you personally?
Oh my gosh. There are just like way too many to count. It's really funny when like I'll walk into like an office to do headshots and everyone sees the camera come out and they're like, oh my gosh, we got to get our pictures taken. Like, we don't want to
Mhm.
do that. I walk into senior living and everyone's like, oh my gosh, what are you here to do? How are you? We haven't seen you in so long. Do you want to sit down? Let's talk. Like, you get older adults to sit down in front of a camera and say, hey, I'm making this space for you. I think you're important. I want to hear what you have to say. And people just start to talk. Um, I will never forget one of the very first events that I shot as Sweet Home Photography was a like snowball prom at Baywind Senior Living in
Ooh.
Webster. And this woman sat down, beautiful. I will show you her picture sometime. Gorgeous, sparkly, glowing. She
Mm.
sits down to have her portrait taken, her prom picture taken. And she says to me, "This is the first time I've gotten dressed up and gone anywhere since my husband passed." And
Oh,
I still get chills thinking about that
yeah,
because you look at this picture, she is radiant, she's glowing, she's beautiful, and you would never know,
yeah,
right? But making the space for somebody to just say, "Hey, I see you." And she said, "Thanks, let me tell you a little bit about it." Right.
love it.
Um, One of the programs I do a lot at senior communities is kind of like an adult show and tell kind of thing.
Ooh, okay.
So, like, bring a meaningful object that you want to be photographed with, kind of to talk about why it's important to you, right? It's a way to show
Sure.
part of yourself. Maybe you're leaving with this image that you're then going to show your family. Hey, here's this thing I have. Here's a picture of me with this thing. I
Right.
want to tell you why it's really important to me. And people, without any prompt, show up with pictures of loved ones,
Uh,
many of whom have passed, right? And they want their picture taken with their people.
yeah.
And so that's a vehicle to be able to offer that to somebody who maybe you can't sit down next to somebody and take a picture anymore, but you can still have that moment with them, right? And those are all things that just happen when you make
Yeah.
space. Those aren't things that I prompt or that I ask for. Sometimes I do now, but not initially.
Right. Not, it's not planned, which makes it extra special. You don't know what they're going to say, what they're bringing for show and tell. And
No. But
it's beautiful.
yeah, and even just in general, people will sit down and they just start to talk because they feel safe, they feel seen, they
Yep.
feel like, oh, somebody made space for me.
Absolutely.
And to just be trusted with those moments is really special and meaningful to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It speaks so much to you and your character, Meg, and the heart that you bring to the entire photo session and beyond that and what you do.
Thanks.
Ageism is something that
Yeah.
often goes unspoken, right? What do
Yes.
you wish more people understood about aging, legacy, and the value older adults bring to the world?
Yeah. So this is a huge, huge piece of why I do what I do. And
Mhm.
so when we think about our culture and our society today, like every other targeted ad is here's your anti-aging cream, right? Here's how to stay active and fit. Here's how to look great after 50. We think about getting old and people say like, oof, that's got to be sad, that's scary, that's lonely, that's depressing, right? But we are all just older versions of ourselves,
Mhm.
right? I think
Yep.
I'm a better version of myself at 39 than I was at 20 or at even 35, right? And
Yeah.
so in my work every day, I get to witness and literally focus on from behind the camera people in older adulthood living like beautifully fun, authentic, connected lives, right? I walk into the legacy to take pictures and I leave, I've had the best time, right? They've made jokes, they've played around. I just did marketing photos for Episcopal
Hmm.
and they had everything, right? It's marketing work. So everything is very like neat and organized and
Sure.
set up the way. These people walked in and they had so much fun. They just took like a very serious situation and just made it such a blast. And so when I'm photographing older adults, what I'm trying to capture is those candid moments, right? I refuse to delete any of those. Like
That's
outtake
awesome.
marketing photos, I posted them because so in social work, we say if you didn't document it, it didn't happen, right? So if I'm seeing somebody for therapy, I document what happens.
Sure.
And then when someone comes back and asks a question, here's your proof, right?
Right.
Here's what we talked about, here's what we did.
Exactly.
So from a photography perspective, right, I can say if we document it, we have proof that it exists. And so
Exactly.
just capturing these fun, candid, happy, active, engaged moments, every single one of those hopefully is like a little chip away at society's message that getting old is terrible, that we should all be scared of it, that we shouldn't spend time with older people, we shouldn't listen to them, they're boring. No, they're a blast. They're interesting, they're fun. They're
Yeah.
just versions of us with just more years.
There you go. Exactly. No, I
Yeah.
love that. I absolutely
Yeah.
love that. So, for someone watching or listening who's been putting off documenting their family stories or
Yep.
capturing meaningful moments, what would you want them to know?
So this comes up all the time. And so I'll go in and take pictures and people will say, only take this side of my face. Or
Oh,
like, oh, don't get me in the picture. I look old. Or, I don't want to have my picture taken until I lose 20 pounds, whatever.
oh, geez, yeah.
And my response is always the same. The people who know you and love you and care about you don't care. They want to see you as you are right now. Right. And so, not to get weird about it, but someday those pictures will mean everything.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think in that process, too, I guess twofold. One, reminding people that they're important to the people who care about them.
Yeah.
Right. And then two, making that space for self-acceptance isn't even really the right word because that's not enough
Mhm.
for feeling good about yourself, for
Right.
recognizing, hey, here's me.
Right.
How I look is kind of the least interesting thing about me, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times I will show somebody a picture and say, you look really happy. Look at your son or your daughter or your grandma or your grandpa. Look at this connection you have with them in this image. That's what matters, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not that your hair isn't perfect or your
No.
makeup isn't perfect or, or you feel like you're heavier or not, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Society has really wrecked with our self-image, that's for sure.
Yeah. But making space for people to show up as they are. And like behind me on my desk right here,
Yeah.
that's a picture of my family with my grandpa and us camping when I was a kid. I look ridiculous, right? When my mom took that picture when I was like 12, I was like, oh, mom, don't do that.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things in my house,
See, exactly.
right? Yeah, it means a
Exactly.
lot.
Yeah, exactly. Such wise words and wisdom.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Meg, I want to say thank you so much for spending this time with me today and
Well,
your
thanks for
heart.
having me.
I'm so excited. Your heart for honoring people, preserving stories, and helping others feel seen and valued really shines through in the work that you do. And I know this conversation is going to stay with people long after they watch it or listen to it. And to everyone hanging out with us today, thank you for being here and supporting these conversations that remind us just how important human connection really is at whatever age. And I
Yeah.
invite you to continue the conversation with Meg. Her contact information is in the description of this video. And if this conversation touched your heart, made you think differently, or reminded you of someone whose story deserves to be celebrated, I hope you'll share this episode with them. And of course, shameless plug, if you haven't already, I'd love for you to like, subscribe, and join us for future conversations here on Hanging Out for a Living. Thanks again, everyone. Thanks so much, Meg. Bye for
Thank
now.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.